Hello, everyone. I am excited today to share with you how to write a 5-page research paper. And in this video, you are going to see an example of a prompt, a working thesis, and also a working outline that can help you and others understand how you can write and also compartmentalize themes of your paper, and also plug in research for your research paper. So let us begin. The prompt for this essay is the following. For this final 5-page research-based essay, write a specific argument about how technology will affect some aspect of society. Okay, now, if you are given a topic like this, or just any topic, you are going to want to narrow your focus, all right? And for this prompt, you may want to narrow your focus on one of the following: something like work, technology, liberty, equality, civilization, war, justice, or education. So I have chosen to narrow this topic to education. For this paper, you must cite at least twice from Yuval Harari's book, 21 Lessons for the 21st Century, and also from 3 outside sources. 2 of those 3 outside sources must be from scholarly articles. Okay, let's get to it. The working title of the paper is this: Education Now, Education Forever. I would, of course, have an introductory paragraph that ends with the following thesis. This is it. Although technology has shaped and will continue to shape education, specifically the constant educational transformation required of adults in the 21st century, technology can have only limited impact on intrapersonal intelligence. That is my working thesis. Now, before we get into the body paragraphs, I briefly want to discuss the introduction and how that would look for this thesis. Now, my goal in this introduction is to introduce the thesis statement. So that means that the sentences preceding my thesis statement should briefly introduce the concept of technology, education, and also intrapersonal intelligence. I am not going to prove anything in my introductory paragraph, all right? My proof is saved for the body paragraphs, all right? But I want to introduce, in general, ideas that are embedded inside of my thesis statement. Now, let's get to the body, all right? For this paper, I have 6 body paragraphs. All right. Now, with the introductory paragraph and also with the conclusion paragraph, this will be approximately 5 MLA style pages. All right. Let's get to the body paragraphs. First body paragraph. My focus for this body paragraph will be technology and its effects on past educational models. All right. Now, I plan to use some research. Okay. But first, before I introduce you to that research, I'll briefly explain what I would intend to do in this body paragraph. Many of us know that technology has always been relevant to educational models. And I would want to go into the Prussian educational system and also into the early 20th century United States educational system. All right. And note here that the Prussian model, they use the technology of the military, the technology of war to shape its education. Okay. You can study much more about this on your own. But note here that the Prussian Empire wanted to create soldiers. So it created an educational system that would make the best soldiers possible. Okay, all right. Now the United States looked at that model, and one of our most noteworthy educators, a Horace man, looked at that model and said, you know, we want to use this model here in the United States. And by the beginning of the 20th century, the United States used this Prussian model, right? But they did not use it for war, okay? The technology that was impacting education at that time was the manufacturing, industrial revolution, right? A la United States model. So Ford's method was having an impact on education here in the United States. And here I will give you my first scholarly article. All right, I would plug this in to this first body paragraph. It is entitled Reflections on the Development of Comparative Education. All right, so my focus in that first body paragraph was technology and its effects on past educational models. Now I'd like to go into body paragraph 2. Body paragraph 2, the focus will be technology and how now a technology has made information irrelevant. Yuval Harari discusses this in depth in his book, 21 Lessons for the 21st Century. And in a nutshell, his argument is that now with technology, that old system of education where people were supposed to pack in information into their brains, right? Where you were tested on what you memorized. Harari is arguing in this section of the book that that type of educational model is now obsolete because you have all information at your fingertips. You can just go to your phone and type in who were the adversaries against each other during World War II, right? You don't need to memorize that information. You have it in 10 seconds if you just type that in or speak that into your phone, into your smartphone, right? If you just type that into a computer, right? So this type of memorization model is moot, right? Body paragraph 3 would focus on technology and the new world, right? This post-COVID-19 new world, May 2020 and beyond, right? And how is technology functioning in our present new world, right? I would use Yuval Harari once again. And in his book, 21 Lessons for the 21st Century, he argues that strangeness will be the new standard for education, and that there are no precedents that are available. Therefore, because there are no precedents, you as a student, as someone who is learning, will have to be very resilient because technology is transforming education as we know it right now. I would also talk about technology and the economy in this particular chapter, because that is a big part of the new world, right? Many people, although I am not forcing this upon anyone, right? But many people have argued that the most important reason for education is so that you can get a new job, so that you can be relevant in this new economy, right? Well, Ray Dalio, who is an economist, right? An international economist, entrepreneur, he argues that we are in a transformational economy. And this only happens every 70 to 100 years. And this has happened since time immemorial. Okay, the last time that we have had our economy totally transformed in this manner is post-World War II, 1945, right? And in this new economy, what does it mean to be educated? How is education important, right? Ray Dalio posits that innovators, people who are creative, they will succeed in a new economic and educational order. And I'm finding this in a recent lecture he gave called What Coronavirus Means for the Global Economy. Okay, constant creative thinking, real world problem solving is what will be important in education. Okay, body paragraph 4. My focus here would be technology and its use in the new educational model. Technology plays a significant part in this new educational model. Online learning through programs such as Canvas, right? Which is what I am using now with my students, right? Many people are using Zoom platforms, right? So this is the new type of educational model that we will continue to use from this point forward. It will be a hybrid style of learning. Right now, it's totally online, but eventually we'll get back to face-to-face classes. However, even those face-to-face classes will now, from now on, use online tools as well. What does this mean for the average adult student, the average adult period? You will have to be a student. Continuing education will be necessary. And it will have to be accessible and low cost so that people can constantly transform and retrain themselves. And why will they have to constantly transform and retrain themselves? Because technology will continue to evolve. You cannot depend on your bachelor's degree or even your PhD to guarantee you lifelong work. So something like certificates will be extremely important, right? In this new educational model, right? It will not just be degrees, that traditional degrees that are important, but certificates or seminar style learning, right? That can be added to a resume, all right? That can show real world life skills. And I would go into my second scholarly article for this, for a lot of this information. And that article is entitled, "The Labor Market Returns to a Community College Education for Non-Completing Students." Body paragraph 5. I would focus on the limitations of technology on intrapersonal intelligence. First, of course, I would want to define what is intrapersonal intelligence. And intrapersonal intelligence is knowledge of self. Okay? And why am I discussing knowledge of self? I believe, and I can use Harari for this as well, but this constant reinvention, transformation that will be required of adults in this new era, this is going to require a lot of maturity from people. It's going to require a lot of intrapersonal intelligence. And at this point, I would cite Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences, all right? And specifically, I would focus on the idea of intrapersonal intelligence, all right? Who am I? How do I fit into the world? Now, these are extremely important questions that one must ask of him or herself. Why? Because these are questions that will keep a person grounded, that will keep a person not anxiety free, but somewhat calm in the face of all of this disorientation, right? Of this constant movement that is going on around us, all right? And once one is grounded, I believe that she can build her imagination, right? The future, of course, is impossible to know, but it is imagination that builds the future. And I will give this as an example. People believed that the truth was the world was flat. And that was simply the truth, okay? Now, it took imagination, it took courage, it took innovation to build a new truth, all right? And as we progress forward, it's going to take a balance between truth, that is reality, objective reality, and imagination to build a brighter future. Body paragraph 6, what would this new world pedagogy look like? Here I would cite Paulo Freire, famous Brazilian educator, and he believed that a subjective and objective dialectical, that is conversation, okay, is constantly necessary in any authentic educational system. Right now, and in the past, only objective theory was valued, okay? It's only what facts, data, all of this. That was what you should know. That's what you should memorize. But as I said earlier, right? Information, objective theory is now to a certain extent obsolete. We know what objectivity is. You don't need to memorize that, right? In the future, where objective theory is based on algorithms, we will need to know ourselves even more. The algorithms, they can have their place. There is no way to escape their place and their function in education and society. The algorithms can help us to be more efficient, and they can help us to complete rote tasks. Information will be there and is there for us to quickly understand. Technology can show us different worlds, but it is only we inside of ourselves, intrapersonally, it is only we who can learn to ask the difficult questions that matter personally to us. That means that we cannot rely totally on objectivity. We must have a constant conversation. If we want an authentic education, we must have a constant conversation between objective reality and our own personal desires. After this body paragraph, I would get to my conclusion. And my conclusion would paraphrase my thesis and highlight my main points of my essay. In this working outline that I have presented to you, I have 7 paragraphs and 6 outside sources. I believe I have answered the prompt that I posed to you at the beginning of this lecture. All right. Thank you. Have a great day. Goodbye.